evening and a very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with News Tonight. Let us begin by taking a look at the top stories of the day. Mangalyaan gets the red planet in sight. Crucial liquid engine test fired successfully to inject it into Mars orbit. Maharashtra alliance is still deadlocked over seat sharing. BJP rejects Sena's offer of 119 seats. NCP keeps Congress waiting. Sino-Indian border tussle intensifies. Armies face off in Chumur region of Ladakh. Army chief cancels Bhutan visit. Faced with a fast escalating flood of Syrian refugees, Turkey shuts down some of its border crossings. US asked to help with airstrikes. And on the third day at the Asian Games in Incheon, India creates history in squash, wins a bronze, a short of a silver. Medals tally reaches 6. First, our big focus. Well, India is very close to creating history as its maiden Mars mission achieved a crucial milestone. The spacecraft's main liquid engine was successfully test-fired at 2:30 in the afternoon today. Now, this was the first test of its last crucial maneuver as it stays on course to reach the red planet's orbit on Wednesday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will witness the crucial Mars orbiter insertion at ISRO's telemetry tracking and command network. The 440-Newton liquid apogee motor engine of India's Mars orbiter mission was successfully test-fired on Monday, putting the country on course for creating history in space science. The LAM engine, idling for the last 300 days on the Mars orbiter mission, or MOM as it is affectionately called, was fired for 4 seconds, raising the confidence level of the Indian Space Research Organization. The test firing has raised levels of hope about the success of inserting the spacecraft into the Martian orbit. The trajectory of the spacecraft has also been corrected. The insertion is planned for early Wednesday. Expressing joy after the engine was reignited, ISRO chief K. Radhakrishnan said, and I quote, "The spacecraft is healthy, it has completed 98% of its journey to Mars, and we are now prepared for that crucial operation to take place on September 24th morning." If the Mangalyaan enters the Martian orbit, it will make India the first country to succeed on a maiden mission. It will also be the first Asian country and ISRO the fourth space agency to send a satellite to the red planet. European, US and Russian probes have managed to orbit or land on the planet, but only after several attempts. Probes to Mars have a high failure rate. Of the 51 missions so far, only 21 have succeeded. A similar mission by China failed in 2011. Earlier on Monday, the unmanned probe entered the Mars gravitational sphere of influence.
It is very important because on 24th in morning when the Mars orbiter mission has to enter Mars orbit, so that has to be tested because it has been dormant for all these months, about 10 months it has been dormant. So it has to be tested, and there was some minor orbital correction. So both has been successfully achieved today. Future mission Mars will be not only Indian mission. Any important big science missions are international missions. We are studying Mars like many other missions are doing, how Mars originated, how Mars lost water. Is there a possibility of life on Mars even now after water has been discovered on Mars, like, frozen water? And future, how is it possible to make Mars habitable?
The Mars orbiter mission was launched into space on 5th November last year. On its 666 million kilometer journey, the spacecraft escaped the Earth's gravity pull on December 1st. On September 24th, in its last lap, the orbiter has to be slowed down from 22.1 kilometers per second to 4.4 kilometers per second in relation to the red planet. The engine would be fired for 24 minutes on that day to reduce its velocity and insert it into the Martian orbit. ISRO has already uploaded commands to help the spacecraft automatically enter the orbit. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, let's get a perspective on what really this achievement means for India. TV Venkateshwaran is now joining us live from Bangalore. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Sir, we'd like to know, this is a big achievement for India and in fact historic in many ways. So what does today's test firing actually mean for the entire mission?
Today's test firing implies that you can buy crackers, I would say environmentally safe crackers, order for a dole, buy sweets. It's almost done. Okay, there is a last lap, there are some crucial maneuvers that needs to be done, but today the engine waking up after 300 days was so crucial that after today morning, the people in ISRO are buoyant. They are very happy. You can see that they are very relaxed. They are sure that this mission is going to be now successful. That's what the message that we get from today's test firing and the course correction that was done. See, the firing took place exactly for 3.968 seconds, and it changed the velocity of the spacecraft by 2.18 meter per second. All this exactly in the parameter that ISRO had planned and proposed. So they are all very happy. I mean, it's gone like a textbook case of exactly following up what you had planned. So now on 24th, this main engine, that is the liquid apogee motor, that's called as LAM, which has a 440 Newton power to give thrust, and also 8 smaller engine, each of which have just 22 Newton thruster power, will be ignited at the same time and will be burned for 24 hours. And this burning will be used as a brake to reduce the speed of the spacecraft so that it can land, it can enter into the Martian orbit.
Right. So you mentioned about the fact that India should be ready. In fact, we should distribute sweets as well. But talking about 24th September, that is of course going to be a big day for Indian space science. You just mentioned that it is it's almost done. It's 98% of the journey is completed, and you said that the chances of Mangalyaaan's successful insertion into the Martian orbit, can we be just rest assured about it?
Yeah, see, actually there are 4 types of Mars mission. One is called flyby, where the spacecraft just very close to Mars and then goes away. The second is the orbiter. The third is a lander, and the fourth is a rover, where after landing, I mean, something like a small car, like a toy car, moves around the surface. Our mission was orbiter mission. It is going to be certainly at least a flyby, and it is going to be an orbiter. Only question that now remains is, will it be an orbiter the way that we have planned? I mean, we are expecting that Mars orbiter mission will last for at least 6 months. Will it last for 6 months? Will it be for a lesser time? Whether the orbit will be the way that we have planned, or will there be a change? Only these are the questions that remains. They are very crucial for the science point of view. But if you are looking at from the technology demonstration, that we want to say that we can go to Mars, we can put a mission around the Mars, that I think is almost success. I mean, there need to be no doubt from this point of time.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us and giving your perspective on the entire story. And you can watch our continuous coverage on the journey of India's Mars orbiter Mangalyaan in our special show Mars and Beyond tomorrow from 10 in the morning to 10 in the evening. Well, as India's MOM, or MOM as it is affectionately called, was on course to its destination, NASA's Maven spacecraft began orbiting Mars today. The NASA robotic spacecraft had fired its braking rockets on Sunday, ending a 10-month journey to put itself into orbit around the red planet and begin a hunt for the planet's lost water. After traveling 771 million kilometers, the Mars atmosphere and volatile evolution, or MAVEN, trimmed its speed from 20,600 km per hour to 16,093 km per hour. The 33-minute engine firing left Maven in the clutches of Mars' gravity as it flew over the planet's north pole and slipped into a looping orbit over the next several weeks. Now, Maven will lower its altitude until it reaches its operational orbit. It will study how the solar wind strips away atoms and molecules in the planet's upper atmosphere, a process that scientists believe has been underway for eons. Now, scientists suspect that Mars was not always the cold and dry desert that it is today. The planet's surface is riddled with what appear to be dry riverbeds and minerals that form in the presence of water.
All I can say at this point is we're in orbit at Mars, guys. And we've taken 11 years to get here. And now we get to do the science that we've been planning for all this time.
Deadlock over a seat-sharing deal between BJP and Shiv Sena for the upcoming assembly polls in Maharashtra continues. After turning down a final deal offered by Uddhav Thackeray, BJP today urged Shiv Sena to reconsider its stand. Meanwhile, Congress is leaving nothing to chance. Amid a tussle over seat-sharing with ally NCP, the party held discussions about the prospect of contesting in all the seats. Here are the details.
BJP has urged Shiv Sena to reconsider its stand on seat sharing in Maharashtra assembly polls next month. On Sunday, BJP turned down Sena chief's final offer of contesting in 119 seats. At the Central Election Committee meeting last night, Prime Minister Narendra Modi met BJP leaders from the state for over 3 hours to discuss the crisis. Party sources say BJP President Amit Shah spoke to the Sena chief on the matter. The party indicated they are not ready to call off the 25-year-old alliance yet.
हम चाहेंगे कि हमारा शिवसेना के साथ समझौता हो, मजबूती के साथ महाराष्ट्र की जनता की आकांक्षाओं के अनुकूल हम वहां सरकार बदले और अपनी सरकार बनाएं।
दोस्तों में बातचीत मीडिया के माध्यम से नहीं होती। अभी हमारा जो प्रस्ताव हमने दिया था वो उनके पास है और मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि अब गेंद उनके पाले में है, रिस्पॉन्ड उनको करना है।
Meanwhile, Congress and NCP's trouble over seat sharing isn't over either. The NCP core committee held discussion on Monday over the crisis. The party has decided to stick to its stand of contesting on equal number of seats.
I have been, or rather our party has been told that the Congress is willing to give about 124 seats, which our party finds not acceptable. We are meeting tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. in Mumbai, and we certainly have expressed our rather a reiteration of our stand of having an equal number of seats.
Congress also held a meeting on Monday considering the prospects of contesting in all 288 seats at stake. Maharashtra Chief Minister Prithviraj Chavan said that the party high command will take a decision on the matter.
सभी सीटों पर चर्चा नहीं नाम कितनी सीटों पे वो हम बता देंगे आपको.
We are going to meet Congress President and General Secretary in charge to finalize the seats which are pending. This discussion with NCP is going out on a separate track.
Both the alliances are running out of time to iron out their differences. They have to resolve the issue before this weekend as the last day of filing nomination is on Saturday. It remains to be seen who blinks first. With inputs from Nav Vikram Singh, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in other news, despite Chinese president's assurances on the border dispute, a standoff continues in Ladakh's Tumor area. Chinese army has reportedly pitched tents within the Indian territory. The centre has received a status report on the ground situation. The Indian army is also on high alert to counter any threat. Meanwhile, in its first reaction to the border dispute, the Chinese Defence Ministry said that the two sides can resolve the issue through dialogue.
The Chinese army continues to remain within Indian territory in Ladakh's Tumor region. Nearly 100 personnel of the PLA are estimated to be around 30 R, strategically an important post. They have reportedly pitched tents in the area. Indian Army has also mobilized force to counter any threat. 15 battalions as well as reserve units have been kept in eastern Ladakh on high alert. Army Chief General Dalbir Singh Suhag has called off his 4-day visit to Bhutan, which was scheduled to start today.
जमीन बहुत कठिन जगह है, वहाँ एग्जैक्टली कौन सा स्पॉट में क्या लगा है, इसका रिपोर्ट देना पड़ता है. ऐसे प्रतिक्रिया देना ठीक नहीं होगा.
On Sunday, India called off a media exchange program with China over the issue of incursions. Visas given to Chinese journalists were withdrawn at the last moment.
They are keen on economic investment in India, which means that Prime Minister Modi has left it in no unambiguous terms to say that there is a huge potential to be realized on the economic front, but that will happen provided the Chinese work on bringing about greater clarity on the line of actual control, that the borders remain peaceful and tranquil.
Meanwhile, the Chinese Defense Ministry has come out with a statement on the issue for the first time. It claimed that there are differing perceptions of the line of actual control. It has also said that the two nations can resolve the issue through dialogue. The chiefs of staff of the PLA met in Beijing on Sunday. It is not clear whether the border standoff in Ladakh was discussed. Diplomatic channels are now working overtime to de-escalate the border imbroglio after 3 flag meetings between local military commanders failed to make any headway. With inputs from Akhilesh Suman, Bureau Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Let us now get you all the other national news and updates nationwide. The Supreme Court on Monday agreed to hear the NGO CPIL's plea seeking a recall of its own order. The apex court had ordered lawyer Prashant Bhushan to reveal who gave him the guest list of visitors to CBI Director Ranjit Sinha's house. Bhushan has told the court that he fears ramifications after revealing the name of his source. The CBI is investigating former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram in the Aircel Maxis deal of 2006. The CBI says that the Finance Minister was competent to give approval of only up to 600 crore rupees, but Chidambaram approved the deal worth 3,500 crore. The investigation wants to know how Chidambaram had given the FDI approval. The West Bengal government on Monday announced a 5-member committee to investigate the alleged harassment of a girl student in the Jadavpur University. The panel is expected to submit its report within 72 hours. Students have been protesting for the past few days, demanding the resignation of Vice Chancellor Abhijit Chakrabarty for the episode. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister J. Jayalalitha on Monday inaugurated 4 new Amma canteens. On Monday, she tasted the food items at the low-cost eateries. Amma canteens involve selling food items at very low rates and is aimed at benefiting the working-class population. Well, time to take a very short break here. Coming up next, Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko defends peace plan for eastern Ukraine. Details after a short break. On to some international news now, and Turkey on Monday closed some of its border crossings with Syria due to unprecedented refugee influx from the country. Now, call for aid and US airstrikes also intensified as the Islamic State militants pushed their advance. Meanwhile, the US has said that the American-led coalition has support from more than 40 nations and other countries are willing to launch airstrikes in Syria.
Thousands of Syrians flocking to Turkey, desperately fleeing to escape the onslaught of the Islamic State militants. After over 130,000 Kurdish refugees crossed over in the past 2 days, Turkey is now closing a few border crossings.
Allah muhafaza, tabii bunların Suriye'nin içerisinde başka yerlere gitmiş olduklarını tahmin ediyoruz. Ama yani yoğun yüz binlerle ifade edilecek bir göç dalgası muhtemeldir.
Most of the refugees are from Kobane, left to fend for themselves as officials struggled to cope with their numbers. With 1 million Syrian refugees flooding Turkey over the last 3 years, tensions have become a constant feature between the police and the Kurds on both sides of the border.
We're approaching in Turkey 1.6 million refugees, and now over 100,000 influx, and quite frankly, we don't know when those numbers will end.
Kurdish leaders appealed to Barack Obama to send the US Air Force to give it cover from the militants. Although the US said it will attack the group in Syria, it has so far carried out airstrikes only in Iraq.
Secretary Kerry convened a meeting of the Security Council on Friday where more than 40 countries spoke in support of the anti-ISIL effort, half at the ministerial level. So we're seeing a diverse range of forms of support, and the commitments are coming in every day.
As world leaders are gathering in New York this week for the UN General Assembly meeting, US plans to lobby allies for pledges of concrete military assistance to help defeat Islamic State.
Et cette semaine, bien sûr, une semaine très importante pour les Nations Unies et pour le monde, nous allons de nouveau travailler ensemble sur la question de l'Irak et de la Syrie.
This comes even as IS in its latest video called on its followers to attack citizens of the United States, France and other countries that have joined a coalition to destroy the militant group. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Ukraine President Petro Poroshenko has defended his peace plan for eastern Ukraine. In a televised interview, he said a military solution was no option and Western support could have been at risk. Meanwhile, the military has accused Russian troops of violating the 5th of September ceasefire in eastern Ukraine by continuing to shoot at government forces. Ukraine reported death of more troops in the conflict. Poroshenko said Ukraine's top priority was to get all Russian troops out of the country.
Позиція перша – заберіть війська. Це чітко. Ми скажемо, коли останній солдат вийде. Ми бачили процес, коли вони виходили, ми бачимо процес, коли вони зупинилися. Їм там нема що робити. Позиція друга – перекрийте кордон. Позиція третя – звільніть заручників. В тому числі ті, хто знаходяться в Росії.
And thousands of people staged rallies and protest marches in their respective cities across the world on Sunday, demanding urgent action against growing concerns over climate change. Ahead of the UN Climate Summit that begins on Tuesday, there is a rising demand for stricter checks on carbon emissions.
Celebrities and politicians joined tens of thousands of protesters on the streets of New York in one of the world's largest climate marches. Over 3 lakh people took to the streets to participate in the People's Climate March, calling for a global action on climate change. Hundreds braved rain in Brazilian capital Rio de Janeiro to participate in the rally. The massive mobilization is aimed at transforming climate change from an environmental concern to an everybody issue. It is also aimed at demanding changes that will lead to a world economy run entirely on clean energy.
The climate is a very important thing. We've got a few years left to solve it, and the governments aren't doing anything at the international level. It needs people globally to put pressure on them.
I think it sends an incredible message, and it's a very powerful one, that people really should be taking climate change seriously, because we're at a very unique point in history in which we can actually tackle this problem right now and get ahead of it rather than wait another 15 years and let it overtake us.
Aiming high for the UN Summit on Climate Change, UN Chief Ban Ki-moon also joined the march. On the sidelines of United Nations General Assembly in New York, US Secretary of State John Kerry and French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius also met to discuss major global issues.
By such a strong power and energy and voice of people, I hope this voice will be truly reflected to the leaders when they meet on September 23rd. Climate change is a defining issue of our time, and there is no time to lose.
Et cette semaine, bien sûr, une semaine très importante pour les Nations Unies et pour le monde, nous allons de nouveau travailler ensemble. Et comme l'a dit le Conseil de sécurité, une menace pour notre sécurité et notre santé à tous. Nous allons travailler aussi sur la question du climat.
The People's Climate March was set up ahead of the UN General Assembly, in which 120 world leaders will come together to discuss on various strategies to reduce carbon emissions that threaten the environment. On Tuesday, the United Nations is set to host a climate summit where world leaders will hold discussions on rising greenhouse gas emissions. Negotiators aim to complete that deal in late 2015. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar will represent India at the summit. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And here is all the other international news and updates in the Global Buzz. Lieutenant General Rizwan Akhtar was appointed the new chief of the Pakistan's intelligence agency ISI. Lieutenant General Rizwan is considered a close confidante of Pakistani Army Chief General Raheel Sharif. Lieutenant General Akhtar was promoted to a 3-star general and appointed Director General of the ISI as part of the major military reshuffle. Thousands of students in Hong Kong boycotted classes today to demand more democracy. They also launched a week-long boycott of clashes, marking the latest in the battle for democracy. Students from more than 20 universities and colleges streamed into the grounds of the Chinese University of Hong Kong, where they were greeted by banners saying "Disobey and grasp for your destiny." Bangladesh's opposition parties held a nationwide strike on Monday, calling for the removal of Supreme Court judges. The strike, led by the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, Jamaat-e-Islami, wanted judges removed for incompetence. The action came after Bangladesh's Supreme Court last week commuted to life imprisonment a death sentence for a top Islamist leader convicted of war crimes in 1971. And we'll take another very short break. Coming up ahead, Olympic gold medalist shooter Abhinav Bindra announces retirement. Stay with us for more details. Welcome back after the break. And it has been a historic day for India at the Asian Games today. The Indian squash team made history by winning medals at the Asiad. Saurav Ghoshal became the first Indian to reach the final and is sure of at least a silver medal, and his colleague Deepika Pallikal settled for bronze. Here is more in this report.
Indian squash player Saurav Ghoshal made history on day 3 of the Asian Games. He became the first Indian to reach the final of the men's squash event by beating Beng Hee of Malaysia 11-9, 11-4, 11-5 in 45 minutes. He has assured at least a silver medal for himself in the event. The other Indian semi-finalist in the women's section, Deepika Pallikal, settled for bronze. She lost to world number 1 Nicole David of Malaysia 4-11, 4-11, 5-11. There were more medals in store for India on Monday. Women shooters won the bronze in the 25-meter pistol finals. Indian trio of Rahi, Anisa and Hina tallied 1,729 points, 18 points clear of the next two teams from China and South Korea. The Indian women's hockey team also started its campaign on a winning note by drubbing Thailand 3-0 in their Pool A match. Poonam Rani, Vandana Kataria and Deepika scored for India. The Indian footballers gave a better account of themselves against Jordan, but that was not enough to stop a superior side from winning 2-0. With this defeat, Sunil Chhetri and company has crashed out of the competition at the Group League stage. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And India's ace shooter Abhinav Bindra has announced his retirement from professional shooting. Bindra took to social media to announce his retirement. India's only individual Olympic gold medalist is competing in the Asian Games for the last time. Bindra will represent India in his pet event, the 10-meter air rifle event on Tuesday. The 2008 Beijing Olympic champion had hinted at retirement just before he won the Commonwealth Games gold earlier this year in Glasgow. That's all in this edition of News Bulletin. Thanks for watching. Good night.